Welcome back to me trying to fend off cats while also doing math. It's quite a skill, I can tell you. But we're on to the page 3 now. So number 6. In the annual homecoming parade, 3 students get to ride on the lead float. 7 students are being considered for this coveted position. How many ways? Jeez, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? You need to get out of here. All right. Coveted position. How many ways can 3 students be chosen for this honor? So, this is where the combinations and permutations are coming in. There are really 3 steps to these. So first of all, let's define our variables. There's always going to be an N and an R if we have a population and we're picking some of them out. So in this one, looks like our total population, that's N. There's 7 people total, and there's 3 of them that are going to ride the float. So our N is 7, R is 3. Now our second step, decide, are we using a permutation or a combination? And the question to ask yourself here, does order matter? Does it say anything about what order they need to be in on the float, if there's a first, second, or a third person? And in this case, it doesn't, right? It's just how many different groups of people can we have on this float? So order does not matter. We are using a combination. And lastly, it just comes down to using the right formula. So 7 choose 3 is what this is going to be. And so after plugging it into the formula, you should have this on a toolkit. If you don't right now, put it on here. Put both the combination one and the permutation formula on your toolkit. Very useful things to have. Don't try to memorize this formula. So 7 factorial over 7 minus 3 factorial times 3 factorial. So that is 7 factorial over 4 factorial, 3 factorial. Okay, so what's going to happen is this 4 factorial is going to cancel with the 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 from the 7 factorial. So you're going to be left with 7 times 6 times 5. This bad boy stays here, that 3 times 2 times 1. And so we are just going to be left with 35 in this case. You can also do this on a calculator, but if you're given big numbers, it's useful to know how to do this, because if you try to put it into a calculator, you're going to get that overflow message. Okay, same thing on number 7. Okay, 3 steps. Can you remember what they are without looking? Number 1, define our N and R. What's your N in this case? 23 people have entered the pie eating contest at the county fair. 23 total. First place pie eater wins a pie for each week for a year. Second place gets a new baking ware, and third place receives the Sky High Pies recipe book. And so looks like a top 3, so that we're ordering 3 of them. Number 2, which one are we using? NPR, NCR. In this one, it looks like order matters, right? We want to see how many ways people can get first, second, or third. How many different possible top finishers are there? That speaks to me that order is mattering. We're going to use a permutation. So same thing here, 23 permute 3. This formula is just a little different, in which we don't have to add this 3 factorial on the end. So we're going to have, oh geez, I keep writing 7. 23 factorial over 23 minus 3 factorial, which is just 23 factorial over 20 factorial, which will simplify to 23 times 22 times 21. Nice and simple. Don't even need a calculator. That is going to be 10,626. So that's how many ways people can finish first, second, and third in that. All right. Grab that pink again. Okay, now we're finding volume and surface area of some given solids. Just as a refresher, volume of anything is the area of the base times the height. So in this first one, if we can find the area of that triangular base, multiply it by the height, we should be in good shape for finding that volume. So another thing to note, you could do the Pythagorean theorem to find this missing side, right? We'd need the height of that triangle. But a little shortcut, this is a 3, 4, 5 triangle. This is a nice special type of right triangle. If you have a hypotenuse of 5 and a leg of either 3 or 4, it's always going to follow this 3, 4, 5 pattern. It's a nice little right triangle. And so our volume The area of this base is 3 times 4 divided by 2. Multiply that by the height, which is 8. And that'll give you 48 units cubed as our volume. As our surface area, you're back for more, huh? Back for more distractions, I see. Tell me about that. Where's your brother? Off being annoying somewhere else, I assume. Okay, surface area. Now surface area, we need all these surfaces. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. 2 of them are the same. So 2 of them are just going to be that area of the triangular bases. Okay, so these 2 together, just multiplying by 2. We need to add that to the 3 faces. So one of them would be 3 times 8. They're all rectangular, it makes it nice. One of them is 5 times 8. All right, 5 by 8. And our last one is 4 by 8. Don't just assume that all your faces are going to be the same every time. But once you multiply these and add them together, you should get 108 units squared. More cat chaos. Okay, onto a cylinder, same idea. We need the area of this base before we can find the volume. And so volume in this case is going to be pi times 5 squared. That's the area of the circular base. Take that times the height. And we're going to get 25 pi times 8, which is 200 pi units cubed. Just leave the pi in there. Don't worry about multiplying it out. You get like 628 point something, but you can just leave it as this pi. Make it easy on yourself, make it easy on me grading it. Leave it in there. It leaves you with some nice numbers. Surface area. Okay, so we've got 2 of these circular bases. That's the easy part. Just 2 times that pi times 5 squared, pi r squared. But we need to add that to the rest of this surface, okay? We've got this interesting looking cylindrical side. What's the area of that, I wonder? Well, if you remember the team test from a little bit ago, a cylinder really is just a rectangle like this wrapped around. And then once these ends are attached to each other, you end up with a cylinder. So if I were to take this, or if I were to take this review guide and bring it around, I've got myself a nice cylinder. So the edge of this rectangle, one of the dimensions of that rectangle, if you look at the circumference of the base, it unravels to be the length of that part of the cylinder. And so if we find the circumference and multiply it by the height, that should give us the rest of this. So the circumference again is 2 pi times the radius. So in this case, 2 pi times 5. And if we multiply that by 8, that'll give us the rest of this surface area. Simplifying this a little bit, we'll get 50 pi plus, and this is 80 pi. So we should get a grand total of 130 pi units squared. And there we go. I'm kind of flying through this right now. So if you have any questions, just rewind, maybe make a note of if you have any questions or wonder where things are coming from. But that's the nice about this is you can rewind and kind of rewatch things. Measure of each interior angle of a regular tengon. Classic, using this formula, that's going to be that 180 times 10 minus 2. Since I want each interior angle, we then need to divide by how many angles there are. And this will give you a grand total of 144 degrees. Each interior angle of a regular polygon measures 156 degrees. How many sides does it have? What I would do for this one, make it a little easier on yourself. Let's find out what the exterior angle is, because that formula is a little easier. Just take 180 minus the interior angle. That'll give us that exterior, which is 24 degrees. Then just use this neat little 360 divided by 24 to give you 15 sides. All right, that's that 360 divided by n. All right, and doing 360 divided by the number of sides will give you the angle. 360 divided by the angle will give you the number of sides. It's a pretty nice little formula there. So speaking of which, let's use that on our next one. Each exterior angle of a regular polygon measures 15 degrees. How many sides does it have? Well, a nice little 360 divided by 15 gives you 24 sides. Easy peasy. Oh, geez, I just used purple on both of these. I got to go all blue, I think, on this last page. But we'll see you on the fourth and final page of the review guide.